Let's talk about politics briefly, because you've spent 2 years in the parliament in Bulgaria.
Yep.
I'm sure you could tell me some very interesting stories. I spent 6 months of my life, maybe 7 months, campaigning to be the next mayor of London.
Yep.
And we had the best ideas, the best policies, the best business-focused, plans for this city, transport, crime, everything. We put it out there, we went out there, but we came up against two very powerful brands, the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, and all of the infrastructure that goes with politics. And at the end of the day, the best ideas didn't seem to win. And the government, strangely enough, for London, which is such a, I always used to say London was built on business. The Romans didn't come here because of the view. They came here because that was business,
and the climate, definitely not the climate.
Yeah, not the climate
right?
either. And yet, in my opinion, the last mayor and current mayor almost does everything opposite to stop business from happening. But it didn't seem to make a difference when I ran for office. And I'm wondering what you see from being in government to maybe explain to people out there, how does government think? I always say politicians care about your vote. They care about money, which is taxes, and how they can spend more money to get your vote. So tell us how you see that whole piece differently. Also, we see places like Texas that are going super crypto-friendly, and Florida that are going super pro-business, we might say, as opposed to California and New York that are, more slow to unlock. What do you see from all that?
Right. Well, first of all, the democracies such as the United States, the United Kingdom are very different from a democracy like Bulgaria. No? Because, like when you said politicians here care about money, and I was like on the edge of my seat, and then say how that translates into more support for them, whereas back home they still care about money, but the ones that money that ends up in their own pocket. So that is quite problematic. And I have been blessed to be born into a family that we haven't, we haven't had immediate financial needs. Let's put it mildly. Yeah, we've always been fine. So this has given me the freedom. And the privilege to be able to think, in idealistic ways about the world and about politics. I wasn't in politics to fatten my own pockets. I was there to make a change because I didn't like what I saw, Bulgaria being one of the most corrupt countries in the European Union, the most corrupt country. So, this was very painful for me. And I am a person who believes that you live in a society, you have this duty to try and make it a better one. And I quite quickly came to clash with the status quo, and it was frustrating because you have the good idea, you have the legislation in place. All it needs to do is for people to see the merit in it, and it gets voted, right? Of course not, because there's so much at play here. And, at some point that was really frustrating for me. And then we didn't perform after one of the elections so well. And I just I said, I'm exiting politics and back into the private sector. And, I think you're most valuable when you have real life experience and accomplishment, something to be proud of, building companies, etc. I don't believe in career politicians. That might work in the most advanced of societies. Not sure that it does even there, but if you haven't gotten the experience of, putting a company from the ground up, or even, meeting your financial goals in life, how can you have the audacity to think you can fix other people's lives and a society which is the most complex of enterprises ever? So I've had a very mixed experience with politics. I am far from it now, but knowing myself, it might be that I return at a later stage.
Yeah, I used to constantly say that the current mayor of London never ran a business in his life.
Yeah.
So how would he understand the business of London, which is basically 98% of London is small businesses, from the taxi driver to the restaurant owner to all of these things. And yet you've never had to make payroll, put capital at risk to create something, to add value. But London was based on that. Even our culture is based on
Absolutely.
that. From the guy that makes my suits to all these things, people come to London because of all the entrepreneurs. And yet, so I spoke about this and I got a little bit frustrated like you did as well, because we were these clear policies, these clear things that weren't working out. But there's a whole strange machine there that I'll probably go try to figure out another time in life, where the media is involved with the parties, with the regulators, and it's a hard nut to crack. And just
especially here from this very, you have very few parties, very little space for new actors, and it's not like that everywhere.
Yeah.
But here it's especially hard.
Very hard, and it was weird. It was like a little oligopoly, and trying to get in was hard. I mean, very hard to even get into a debate, which was tricky. So, look, we learned a lot. If you come from a business perspective, you're used to being able to create an idea. If it's got legs, then you have support. And in politics, it's quite different. But
yeah, in business, usually the better idea succeeds, and in politics, there's no guarantee that will be the case.
No, that's true. But it's interesting to see how they think and kind of what's on their mind, and so you can kind of see, why politicians, are not always embracing the new stuff, why they're quick to hedge, why they're thinking about, their own votes, and then how they appoint people and how they look at regulations. So, at least you can see a little bit behind the curtains.
And then the other thing is that, the best and the brightest, they have so many opportunities in London that they, politics is not the first career choice. It might be that, the best minds are perhaps doing something else.